Good morning, BCC. How are you all this morning? Now, how do all of you find waking up in the winter? It's exactly my thoughts as well. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's not so great. I even invested in a wake-up light to simulate the sun. I don't know if anybody else has one of those. If you don't have one and you struggle to wake up, highly recommend. They're great, but we struggle to wake up in the dark. And so often, it's not just the darkness of winter, but we see the darkness, and we wake up first thing, and we have our anxieties, our fears, our worries. The first thing that we see is our phone and the news. And all of those things that are not light, not easy. But what if we shifted our perspective a little bit? And instead of waking up to those things, we rather woke up in the light. That we looked to God first and stepped into it instead. And today we're going to look at Psalm 57 and how we wake up and worship. Now, this isn't just when we get out of bed first thing in the morning. It's every moment of our lives. How do we wake up in worship? How do we wake up in that? So before we dive straight into Psalm 57, I want to give some context behind the passage because it paints a much clearer picture of why David is writing these words. So I'm pulling this background. So Psalm 57 was written by King David. And it would have been written around the time where he was fleeing from Saul. So taking this from 1 Samuel chapters 8 to 22, go and have a read of it later to see really the history about where David is coming from in writing this. So Israel wanted a king, so God had Samuel anoint Saul. Saul disobeyed God, and God instructed Samuel to anoint a new king. That anointing fell onto David, but only spiritually at that time, not legally. Saul was still king by law, and David served Saul faithfully as his armor bearer and became deeply loved by the people of Israel. But Saul grew jealous of David's success and repeatedly tried to kill him. So David fled and went into hiding in a cave. And this is where we end up in the Psalm of David. So he's really been through it with God at the minute. He's not having an easy time. He's not living in the palace at this time. He's really in a place of struggle. He doesn't know what's coming next. He doesn't know if he's going to live another day. He doesn't know what's going to happen. And yet David, in the middle of fear, pressure, and uncertainty, David says this, Psalm 57, verse 8. Awake, my soul. Awake, harp and lyre. I will awaken the dawn. I'm going to read that again. In the middle of despair and fleeing from somebody who's trying to kill him, the king who is trying to kill him, this is what David says. Awake, my soul. Awake, harp and lyre. I will awaken the dawn. And I have to say that if I was in this situation and I knew someone was trying to kill me, I don't know if I would have that response. I don't know if any of you would have that response. Notice David in this psalm doesn't say, when things get better, I'll worship. He doesn't say, once I feel safer, I'll sing. He speaks to his own soul. He knows the struggle that's happening. He speaks, awake, my soul. Not wake up and then worship, but wake up in worship. See, when we wake up in worship, it's a positioning word. We're positioning ourselves in a posture to come before the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. David here is saying, worship is the place I start. It doesn't matter what situation I'm in, it doesn't matter what's happening. Worship is the place that I start. Now, I think it's important for us to break down what worship is a little bit, because it can get very confusing. And we have our ideas of what worship is. It's singing a song at church. It's going to Bible study. But worship is an all-encompassment of our lives. Evelyn Underhill explains worship as this. Worship in all its grades and kinds is the response of the creature to the eternal. Worship in all of its facets is our response to our Creator God, bringing glory and adoration to Him in all that we do. Worship is not just our Sunday service, our devotional time, our serving once a month. It's a response of everything we do to honor the Father. It's both inward and outward. It's not confined to a song or a service, a time or a place. It's the posture of our heart. Are you in a place where your heart is postured for worship every day? I can tell you honestly that I have days where my heart is not in the posture for worship. It is not prepared to come and worship God. Do you feel the same? We wonder, well, if I'm doing all of these steps, I'm coming on Sunday mornings, I'm reading my Bible, isn't that enough? But our heart posture is so important. So let's turn to the beginning of the Bible. We'll look at Genesis 4. And Genesis is the story of creation, so we have the first chapters we've seen the creation and we've seen the fall, and we come to Genesis chapter 4. One of the first things that we see is an offer of worship. So Genesis 4, verses 3 to 5. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. So we see here that both Cain and Abel brought gifts of worship, an offering to God. And there's a lot of theological debate on this offering and why Cain's wasn't acceptable. But a lot of it comes to the heart. We see it explained again in Hebrews 11, verse 4. By faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as righteous. When God spoke well of his offerings, and by faith, Abel still speaks, even though he is dead. The posture of our hearts matter when we go to the Lord. It's not just a tick box in worship. Yep, done that, prayed today, good to go. But it's coming with our heart fully there and ready for the Lord. In Samuel 16, we see as David is being chosen as the king. 1 Samuel 16:7. But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him." This is David's brother who is being rejected. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. We may look like we're worshiping. We're going through the motions. We go to church, we come and serve, we have our devotional time, we say the right things. But if we aren't awake, if our heart is not postured in wakefulness, in the light of the glory of God, then it means nothing. It means nothing. And our gift is seen like Cain's is. It's very interesting. You find often in children and some adults sleepwalking. Don't know if anybody here sleepwalks or have had children that sleepwalk, but you end up with some very interesting stories. And people can do some fairly crazy things. They're fully asleep. There's no cognitive processing that's going on there. They don't know that they're doing it, but their motor skills are still intact. So people will get up out of bed, they'll go to the kitchen, they'll make a meal. There are people who have gotten in their cars and driven miles fast asleep. People who have gotten up and gone on a run fast asleep. My own sister once got up, managed to open our garage door and end up out front of the house. They're not aware of what they're doing. But as onlookers, we'd go, okay, somebody just running. That's somebody who's out front of their house. Their outwardly appearance seems to be fairly normal. But internally, they're not awake. They're not there. They're not recognizing what they're doing. They have no sense of it. In church today, I ask, are you sleepwalking spiritually? Are you not fully present and awake to the moment that God has given you? Are you not fully present and awake in your worship? Are you sleepwalking through life, going through the motions, appearing outwardly as you're following God? But your heart, your soul, isn't reflecting that. Are you allowing your emotions, your environment, your circumstances to decide if and how you worship? Are you just going through the motions? Or are you going to be like David, commanding your soul? David doesn't wait for his feelings to catch up. He doesn't wait to feel safe in that place. He doesn't wait for the cave to turn into the throne room. He says in the despair and the hurt, "Awake, my soul. Awake, my soul." Romans 12:1 says, "Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship." We are called directly by God not to go sleeping, not to go sleepwalking, but as a living sacrifice to offer ourselves to God and say, "God, I am here. I will worship you." Far too often, we make worship about us. How we feel, whether the music fits our style, whether the moment feels right. But worship is about God. We wait until we feel right to worship too often. When we go into worship, it realigns our heart to what is already true. As we worship, as we offer all of ourselves to God, we remember who God is. We grow in intimacy with our Creator, and our hearts align with His. See, with God, the truth doesn't change. David's situation hadn't changed. The danger hadn't disappeared. The cave was still a cave. But David knew this truth, that God is still the same. Whatever you're going through, God is still the same, and He is deserving of our worship. God is still God when I'm disappointed, when I'm frustrated, when I'm afraid, when I'm sad, when I'm joyful, when I'm happy. God is still God when I am in the valley, on the mountain, walking on water, when I'm sinking, when I'm in a cave, or when I'm in a palace. God does not change, and our worship of him must not change. We don't always understand the why we're in that situation, why we're struggling, why God has put us in that position. But we understand the character of God, and we can rely on that. I know the character of God from his word, from his faithfulness, and from my personal experience. That's why David could say earlier in this passage, Psalm 57, verse 7, "My heart, O God, is steadfast." Not because life was steady for him, but because God was. God remains steady through it all, through every part, every aspect. It's us who walks away, us who waits for things to be right. God remains the same. David says something powerful here. I will awaken the dawn. I will awaken the dawn. That means worship wasn't his response to the day. It was the force that shaped the day. He allowed worship in before fear could speak, before Saul could chase, before the circumstances could decide the tone. David chose to worship. He chose God and said, God, I don't understand, I don't get it, but I will come and I will sit before you and I will worship. Awake my soul to worship. So BCC, let me ask you again. How are you waking up? Is it darkness that you awaken to? Fear, anxiety, the news, your circumstances? Are you going to wake up in the light of God, in light of worship? God is inviting you today to stop waiting for the right moment and start commanding your soul. To wake up, not just physically, but spiritually, to say, awake my soul, awake my worship. I will awaken the dawn. I'm going to say that again. And as a prayer to us today. Father, awake our souls. Awake our worship. Let us wake up the dawn with our song. So BCC, today, are you ready to wake up and worship? To not sleepwalk through life, to just let it go by, but to be fully present and engaged, to be in worship, not wake up and then worship, wake up in worship. To posture ourselves every day, in every moment, to say, God, I am choosing you. I will worship you. Is that what you're doing today? Awake my soul. Awake my worship. I will awaken the dawn. Amen.